Hey, welcome back to the Social Work Race podcast. Can I get my words straight out? Appreciate you being here, guys. Seriously, it's been helpful. The channel is growing. On the podcast, I've only recently started recording on a video, more so record with interviews, but just to let you know, I've not disappeared. I've struggled with doing solo podcasts on this channel. I managed to muster up the courage to just put myself out there. I don't find it easy to be on social media at all, and I could do it for a period of time, and then I probably need to do it with someone else because I struggle. I'm an introvert. That's the way it is. And so I appreciate you coming on and just listening to me ramble on about issues to do with myself, let alone the reason why you're here is to talk about social work and issues around social work and other people's narratives. So thank you for joining. Again, this is a space originally for students, because I found that there wasn't much out there telling us what it was really like at the time, when I was a student at the time, telling us what it was really like, so that when we hit the ground, can we even walk, let alone run. So this is a space to talk about it, to educate others. We have like a more of an educational section, and then we also have a narrative section in this podcast. So I gave you a little ramble on about my imposter syndrome kicking in. It kicks in easily when it comes to putting myself out there. Again, like I said, I'm an introvert. That's what I do. And after a day's work, and the job has been tough, as you know, I work with adolescents, child protection, child in need, and so forth. Doing this podcast is not easy, so I appreciate your support. Again, what I'll be doing from now on is I will be recording these live, or recording these on videos so that you can watch as well. Put a face to the voice, you know what I mean? And you know what as well, I just wanted to add as well, because I've got my screen reminding me about everything on the right hand side here, that I've put it out there now. I'm building a course for social workers, because I think social workers get burnt out too easily without putting in place mechanisms to support them doing this job. It's tough, and especially for those in working with young people and children, it's particularly tough. It's tough all around. Doesn't matter what social work you do, it's tough all around. But there are some areas of teams that you work in that are particularly challenging. And to maintain your mental health and your emotional health and your physical health, doing this job can at times be impossible, especially if you've got children. I've got 3 children. My eldest is down from uni. So we have 3 children in a home, and also we've got to do home life, and it is a challenge. And I want you all to know that doing this podcast is actually quite challenging time-wise. And there are times, I don't know if you'll ever have seen it, but there are times when I'm doing this podcast and I am shattered. So I'm putting on my best face at times, but like today's an easy day. In fact, we are in the middle of shall I call it a heat wave? So it's a Friday. And the time is now, just to let you know what it's looking at, 9:30 at night. And it's going to be 30, maybe 33, 34 degrees tomorrow. It's that week. Just if you ever want reminding of when this is, it's that week when it was hot in June. And it looks like summer's here. Honestly, I'm expecting snow in next week or so. That happened to us earlier in the year, didn't it? So yeah, here we go. I mean, I want to talk about burnout. And the reason why I'm talking about burnout is because I was asked to talk about burnout. So I put a post out about an hour ago, and then someone said, would you do something on burnout? So I will. I can throw stats at you. I think we all know. I don't think we need to know about the stats. I want to speak to managers, and then I want to speak to those who social work managers are managing. Okay. So I saw this article on a really good website, Social Work News, and it just coincided with so well with the request to do something on burnout. Before I go into it, Burnout's one of those things, it creeps up on you, you know. It's like a leak. And if you don't manage it soon, it will inevitably and sometimes irreparably do damage. And that's the thing about burnout. It creeps up on you. And so you have to be very much aware before it takes place to start managing that. And one of the great things about this podcast is that I get to speak to people who constantly remind me, because there is no way you can do our job. And ours is not the only job by any means, but we're here talking about social work. There's no way you can do this job and not get a level of burnout. And so it falls on the managers to manage that, because social workers are running from the professional at a very high rate. So let me just throw a couple of quotes from the article. It says here, and this person wrote and said, I came into social work following a fairly chaotic adolescence and felt that my lived experience, including that of being a young single mother, could lead me to do some good for others. Over the years, I've learned to deal with toxic peers, and environments, and many difficult people, of course, from school bullies to workplace jerks, all of which I feel has helped me to form resilience and gain new strength. There you go. So what we have here is a normal human thinking, well, I could take what I've been through and really help others to avoid or to come through, because I've been there. That's what they're doing. And so with that, you can see and say that. Just reflect on it and ask where you've come from in that, because a manager would really need to ask that question. Who am I managing? And this person has basically given you an outlay as to where they've come from. And if they've come from that place, then they're definitely bringing some bags. So this is a word to managers. Your staff are bringing bags. It's your job to work out what they are and support them through that. Then the other part of the quote has said, why are senior managers not subject to a more holistic 360-degree review process? Surely staff piling out the door to leave for a worse job or suffering mental breakdowns is a sign that things are not good. Now, fortunate for me, in my most recent role, I've just changed jobs now, but in my most recent role, management was excellent. In fact, management would take bullets for you, because as social workers in our jobs, you're going to miss things. If you look on my LinkedIn page, you will see a post on there from today, today is the 16th of June, a post on there saying why social workers don't always answer their phones. We cannot always answer our phones. It's impossible. If we are managing higher than normal caseloads and ticking all these boxes and filling out paperwork, our capacity is stretched to the max. In fact, it's gone beyond our capacity. In fact, we are working, a lot of us, outside of our capacity or beyond. And so burnout is inevitable. A reason why I'm saying that is because we need someone to cover our backs when we are inevitably going to fail. Can I say this? I think I can. We will fail. We will make mistakes. We will drop the ball. It's going to be a part of the job because of the pressures, because of the nature of the work that we do, and because of the lack of investment in social care, where we are going to drop the ball. And so who's there? Our managers. And if our managers are actually just looking at our failures as social workers, then they are a part of the problem. And if you ask me, I would say a manager is probably the number one factor, a good determinant as to whether someone is going to leave or stay in their profession. A good manager. It's not just about investment, because any profession you go into, if you have a bad manager, it's hell. And I guess with all that we've laid out today, if your manager is just waiting for you to fail and criticize. Obviously, how on earth did they get that job? They're going to really drive you out of the job. And because of the trauma, you won't necessarily process it. You'll just run anywhere else. And a lot of the time, social workers leave their profession and go into something that is probably for a worse job or less pay, because they just want to experience less trauma. But my question is, where is the quality control sorry, for our managers, how they are managing us as social workers? Where is that? And I'm looking at line managers, just one up from me and one up from that line manager. How are we measuring and understanding if they are doing their jobs? And I'm not here advocating for more paperwork, more unnecessary processing, but really just evaluation, just simple evaluation. How do your staff feel about you? You need to know in some capacity. And I think maybe private conversations or in any way that it can be done to hold people to account. Because social work is held to account. Social workers are held to account. And when people aren't happy with what we do, we get those complaints all day long. So I would call for that. I don't know what you think. Let me know. The social work race at gmail.com. Send your ideas through, or just post it in the in my LinkedIn. But there's another part to this, right? If let me try and word this right. If you are going through, if you're wherever you are working, if you feel that your manager is really hammering you into the ground, is not supporting you, if you think that they are overly critical, if you feel that your manager isn't supportive in any way and it's actually impacting your job or your mental, emotional well-being, I think that there are two main things that I could say to you. And again, I'm no figure of authority, but this is very personal, okay? Because I think in analyzing it, there are only two things you can do, and here they are. And that is either to speak to them or leave. But I don't expect the majority of people to complain or speak up. I think that mismanagement, abuse, trauma, these things cause us to actually be quiet. Some people will, but I don't think there's a majority who will stand up and say, I don't like the way you're treating me or the way you manage. I don't think everyone has the balls for that. And some people cannot be bothered with that. But also I think that your silence when you're traumatized, you can also shut your clam up. I would say that before you get into any job, or if you are in a job in social care, I would say never go into a job or never stay in a job, whether you're there already or whether you're planning to. Never enter a job that you are not prepared to walk away from. Remember, some of you are parents, some of you are partners, and some of you are single. You have to protect yourself, okay? You owe that to yourself. Nobody else can do that for you. There are limits, but nobody can do that for you. You have to do what it takes. And if speaking up is a part of your defense or maintenance, then do it. And do it in a constructive way, But don't be afraid to walk away from your job, especially in social work. Your degree can take you a lot of places. And one of those places is into another job, because everywhere you turn, an agency is waiting to snap you up. And there are a bucket load of jobs out there. So don't stick around and think you owe it to anybody, not even the service users. You don't. You owe it to yourself to be well first. And that's hard to do sometimes, because a lot of the time we're here for others more than we are for ourselves, but that's wrong. Anybody will tell you that, right? So speak to your manager and speak in a constructive way, one-on-one. If they're not getting it, then you go above. If you've got the time and energy for that, go ahead. But for those of you who don't, make your plans and move on. It's not hard. Speak to an agency. They'll find you something in the same week, easily. Don't be afraid to walk away. Look after number one. Yeah. If you haven't done either of those things, here's that secret third option, and that is ask for help. Who could you ask? You could ask your colleagues, the ones that you trust. You could see a therapist, and you can have a conversation with yourself. Yeah. Ask yourself for help. That's an interesting topic in itself. Have a conversation in your heart, in your head, and make a decision as to what you know you need to do. Don't be afraid to follow through. Look after yourself. If there's not any of you, then what can you give? You know what I mean? I hope this helped. And I want you, after every show, to leave these podcasts with more tools as to how you're going to do what you're going to do in this game, because it's tough. It's tough out here. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.